if you do anything, they're your shoulders. Really easy to train, but sometimes awfully stubborn to grow, man. Now, I myself, I just came out of a plateau with my shoulders when it comes to both strength and size. And in this video, I'm gonna show y'all a few things that I picked up on as to why I wasn't growing. Share it with y'all so y'all avoid the same pitfalls. So get your notebooks out, do whatever you gotta do. Pay close attention to this video. I'm just go ahead and get straight into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is improper overload. What does that entail? Improper overload. What does that mean? Let's go ahead and get into it. Let me just erase this off the board. Now, proper overload, it can mean one or two things. That you're either training heavy a majority of the time, or you're training heavy and doing it way too seldomly, or you're training light a majority of the time, or training light on your shoulders way too seldomly. Both of those are not going to help you out at all, because the stimulus to fatigue ratio isn't good enough. But the stimulus to fatigue ratio that I'm talking about is the fact that you want to pick exercises that are they're very high in stimulus, but very low in fatigue. And that's the key to building muscle, man. If y'all go back to my hypertrophy hierarchy, y'all see me talk about that there in a little bit more depth. You want to have exercises that are very high in stimulus but low in fatigue. That's going to make your life a lot easier and make things easier for you. Now, your shoulders, they're very delicate but strong muscles. Very delicate but strong muscles. And that's where you have to be very careful, because if you're training very heavy a majority of the time, or training heavy very seldomly, you might end up like this guy right here with the broken strings. Your muscles are made up of a lot of tendons, and those are things that you don't really want to snap. You don't want to send yourself to Snap City. Shout out Hodge Twins, bro. They really put me on game back in the day when I was first coming up trying to learn how to build muscle. Funny guys too. What I suggest that you do to avoid this, I'm gonna keep this video as simple as possible and just give y'all the game. There's a few things that you want to do, or two things specifically that I'm thinking about that you can do to avoid this. This is one method that I've always used up throughout my muscle building journey, and it's that one day I'll train a bit heavier when I'm doing my shoulders. I should really use some other colors so it's a bit more digestible for y'all, because I know people like colors. So one of the days you want to train heavier, and one of the days you want to train lighter. So on the heavier days, what I would do is I would do my compound movements, a lot of those, and I would also reduce the reps a bit. I wouldn't do a lot of reps on that day. I'd shoot between like 5 and 7 reps of what I was doing, especially on things like seated shoulder press. Heavier weights, lighter in reps, so that I don't kill myself. And then on the lighter days, where I would do a majority isolation movements, like lat raises, for example, just to throw it out there, I would have a lot more reps and a lot of lighter weights. This would like balance itself out, and I wouldn't have to like train heavy on both days or train too light on both of my days, because when you're training to build muscle, you want to hit your muscles as often as possible. I'm putting quotation marks on that. Doesn't mean that you train your shoulders back to back, but let's say in the span of 7 days, you might want to train them 2 to 3 times if you're trying to build muscle, right? So really split it up. Give yourself a heavy day and a light day. Change the exercises around if you want to. Keep the same exercises, but just do different amounts of sets and reps. It's going to help you out a lot. The next thing that you want to do is also give yourself different overload methods. Now, I remember back when I was coming up on seated shoulder press and I really wanted to increase the weight of it. There was one thing that I would do specifically that really helped me out, and it was that I would slow down the reps a lot. I would add a pause either at the top or at the bottom of the reps. Hey, yo, pause. But I would add a pause either at the top or bottom of the reps. I think I have some footage of that somewhere. I'll put it up on screen. I would put a pause at the top of the movement so that I could really like just stabilize my core, you know, just be a little bit uncomfortable. And also add a pause sometimes at the bottom so I could really work on, you know, pushing that weight up and getting used to that, because the more I did that, the more lighter the weight I was using got. And I had no choice but to move up, because my muscle would adapt to that stress that I was putting on it. And in turn, over time, build new muscle and making things easier. I would progress better by growing muscle and getting stronger. You see the logic there? Pretty easy stuff, pretty simple stuff. It's not all sciencey, man. It's common sense and it's proven methods that have been used for years. It's not all that BS that we see today. By the way, I've also started one-on-one coaching online. So if you're looking to build muscle and you want to do it the simple and effective way, go ahead. Links are in the description. You can book a call with me and we can have a chat about that. Another thing you can also do is to slow down the eccentric. Let me get red instead. And what do I mean by that? Well, slowing down the eccentric is something that you would do on an isolation movement for the most part when it comes to shoulders, like a lat raise. On a lat raise, let's say you're on the way down. That would be the eccentric, right? Because on the concentric, you're squeezing your delts and that. So on the way down would be the eccentric. So what you want to do, grab some lighter weight, slow it down on the way down. Give yourself like 3-4 seconds to bring it down. Don't rush it, So just like that. Make it as easy as possible. And don't yank, let me not even get into that. But slow down the eccentric. Make it harder for yourself, because when you make it harder for yourself, again, your muscle adapts to stress, and over time it builds new muscle, and then you can progress in weight, you can progress in size. Make it easy for yourself. Now, the next thing I want to talk about that a lot of y'all are struggling with, the fact that a lot of y'all have garbage form and garbage technique. I have no idea why I wrote it out like this, but here we are. Garbage form and technique. You probably thought that through a little bit better. There's a lot of y'all that have terrible form. Terrible form. And the reason why you have terrible form is because of the fact that a lot of y'all show up to the gym to impress others. You're not there to work on yourself and build your own muscle and build your body. You're there to show off to everybody else. And what does that lead you to do? Oh, you know what? Today, I'm going to go ahead and do dumbbell lat raises with a 25 kilo or 50 pound dumbbell. I just did some quick maths there again. Go and grab those and you can't do anything with it because you want to impress everybody. And then you end up like the broken string kid here again, where everything just snaps and you send yourself to Snap City and everything's fucked for you. Why would you do that? Improper form and technique. Sometimes you don't need to be doing the most when it comes to building muscle. Keep it as simple as possible. You don't have to go in there and be throwing around hella weights when you're working on your shoulders, man. Because like I said in the beginning, your shoulders are delicate but strong. Delicate in the sense that if you do anything fucked, they're fucked. Drop the weight. Use light weights, have a rigid core, rigid back. Be as straight as possible. For example, when doing lat raises. Literally, almost all, I don't want to say all, but almost all shoulder exercises require you to be rigid in your body. Rigid core, rigid back. Sometimes I'll squeeze my ass cheeks in when I do lat raises just to hold myself straight and hold myself accountable that I'm doing things right, because I'm not out here trying to do cheat reps. I'm not too interested. This is going to require a lot of mind-muscle connection as well. But it's going to take practice, man. It takes practice. And it is what it is. It's better that you practice and do something several times and not be so good at it the first time and get better and better and better over time, because it's all just progress. All of it is just progress. It's going to get you from point A to point B, which is you building strength and building those large shoulders that you want, right? So let's not make things harder than they need to be, guys. Let's not do that at all. Another thing with garbage form and technique, I just realized I didn't write any of what I said on the board. I'm just like flowing, man. Is that a lot of y'all have an unbalanced approach when it comes to training your shoulders. Basically what I mean by that is that a lot of y'all focus on different heads of your shoulders unevenly. So for example, I know that I was a victim of this pretty early. Excuse me. I would train a lot of my front delts and front delts and side delts a lot more than I would train my rear delts. Hopefully I'll have some photos that I can show y'all. It got to a point where I could literally see my front delts and rear delts just taking over, and like when I would flex my triceps, my rear delts, they were like nowhere to be found, right? So I was missing that cap look, but this is something that I've since then corrected. So really pay attention to what heads of your shoulders that you're also training, because if you're going into the gym and training a lot of front delts and side delts, which are really easy to just get caught up in because that's what people see for the most part, you're going to lose that look, that capped look, and your rear delts are going to be nowhere to be found. and you're gonna be looking stupid. So to combat this, what I did was that, let me write this down. On my heavier days, I have one compound, one side movement, and one rear delt movement. So the compound, that would usually be a shoulder press of some sort, seated, standard, Smith, doesn't matter. Side can be a lat raise, Egyptian lat raise, anything like that. By the way, we're going to be talking about cables here in a second because there's something bothering me about the cables as well. Now on my lighter days, I would have one rear movement, rear delt movement, one side movement, and one front movement. These are mandatory, by the way. Mandatory. So I had to have at least this. I had to. And that was just to balance things out. Now on the lighter day, of course, I would also have another rear delt movement too. So it should actually be two. Let me actually two rear delt movements. Why did I put the markers in here when I need them the whole video? Two rear delt movements, one side delt movement, and one front delt movement. Just to balance things out, because it got to the point, like I said, where I would flex my tricep, or I would just look in the mirror on my shoulders, and my rear delts were nowhere to be found. So you have to have a balanced approach. Take account of which one your heads are the strongest. The one that's the strongest, you probably want to like pull back on that a little bit, and work on the weaker one, because over time, the progress will come again using the tips that I have here on this video. Last thing I want to discuss on this video, for my battery dies. Stop trying to look pretty, man. Stop trying to look pretty. There's no point. There's no point. There's a lot of y'all that go to the gym, like I said. Y'all go there to impress others and not work on yourselves. And there's this common like thing nowadays where a lot of people will hog the cable machines. Why? Because yeah, they're effective. They work, they're great. I don't have anything against cable machines. But y'all have got to stop hogging them. Stop hogging cable machines. Bro, use dumbbells too. Dumbbells work just fine as well. They work just as fine as well. Use dumbbells as well, bro. Stop hogging the cable machines. Stop basing all your training around cable machines where you use your shoulders, man. Go grab some dumbbells. Work on your technique as well. Don't neglect them. Honestly, in my opinion, dumbbells, for me, they worked a lot better because it requires a lot more from you when it comes to being stable, having that rigid core, having that rigid back, having everything rigid so that you get the right reps out. And if you master that, then when you start doing a lot more cable exercises, they become a lot easier because you have that mind-muscle connection already. You can feel every single one of your shoulder heads and what you're training. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie again, bro. Cable machines, they work. But stop hogging it. Stop hogging the cable machines and just going off on them. Leave them for other people that actually need them and that actually want to get working. That doesn't just pertain to just doing some Egyptian lat or hanging lat raises. You know what I mean? Let's be smart, guys. Let's be smart. Let's be efficient. Let's build muscle the right way. Let's do it in a simple way. Again, just to end the video, if you've made it this far in the video, I am offering one-on-one coaching. I want to help y'all build muscle. I've been training for the past 14 years, using the past 9 years to build muscle and build my physique. And I want to help y'all do it too. So if you're interested in that, go ahead, click the link below. That's it from me in this video, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. See you.